Hello and welcome to the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics, and also economics sometimes. I'm here with my wonderful, beautiful co-host, Christy Santiago.
Thank you. We do attempt to apply logic and reason to everything from religion to politics and all of the stuff in the middle. Sometimes that we don't even know why we're covering it. So that's why you guys should stay around. We learn something with or without you. We're learning here. So thank you. Mac is my wonderful, beautiful co-host as well. And we have a Lord and Savior, Nacha Witness, who lives in the future. Apparently that's demonstrable. So whatever.
You know what? You believe that he's our Lord and Savior. I just think he's the man behind the curtain.
If you live in the future and it's demonstrable, you're more of a Lord than me.
Do that.
Yes. L-O-R-T, Lord.
He says from behind the scene. How about both? All right. So we have things and stuff for you all today. See who's in the live chat before we started. We have RB, your local. Thank you very much for showing up. Jumping in the live chat. And also Joshua is here. So thank you to our regulars. Please forgive my voice, or don't, but please listen to it.
Don't forgive him. Whatever you do, there's no forgiveness.
I have there's an epidemic going around in my area called allergies, and there's no cure. So that said, we're going to talk about Saudi oil because segues work like that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a roundabout. A Saudi oil is definitely the topic per se. I just find it very interesting that the state of Texas, who is always talking about being energy independent. All of the conservative states are energy independence is what we have to do. And the people who show up and listen to them, unfortunately, do not understand that we live in a capitalist society, and those pools or factories or even the oil that hasn't been dug up yet is owned by private corporations, private families, private industry. And those private industries can sell it to Americans, or they can sell it to the highest bidder, which is what they do. It is their fiduciary responsibility to make more each year. So even if the oil is there in Texas, it's not owned by them. So I have a moment for you, Mac. It's a nice time to take a break if you wanted to ask your question or
for those of you who don't know why Christy just stops abruptly sometimes, I just raised my hand and wait. I do not like to interrupt.
He's my favorite student. He's a teacher's pet. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, I really enjoy pats on the head, and Christy enjoys apples. Granny Smith or Golden Delicious?
I like ambrosia and Fiji.
Macintosh was the right answer. I'm sorry. Mac. So what I was gonna say, and this is me playing devil's advocate just a little bit, is that yes, that is capitalism 101. Is to take these resources out of where the fuck ever and sell them to where the fuck ever, right? But that is a really good example of unfettered capitalism. You can have more fettered capitalism and just keep it national, right? You can still have full capitalism,
right?
in a set boundaries, and we already do.
And I can give you an example of exactly that. A conservative state in our union named Alaska. They found lots of black gold. And Sarah Palin actually said the hell you private companies are going to make off with all of these profits. The hell you are. You found it here. It's Alaskans. So every Alaskan citizen gets $1,000 each month. Every Alaskan citizen.
Yeah.
And then she goes and campaigns on how she hates socialism. She just did a socialism.
I think it is each month, right?
Oh, Sarah Palin.
So but yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make the point because Christy and I are both more socialist than we are capitalist.
Yes, definitely.
Just to be fair, you can have a capitalist economy and narrow the market.
We have a combination right now.
Yeah, we do.
We're definitely, most economies are a combination of a few different ways about it.
Yeah.
So back to that Texas and the black gold under that dirt. While the president's name was Trump, Texas still had the same leader, Greg Abbott. And they allowed a Saudi Arabian company to take 100% ownership of Texas's largest oil refinery, which would go on to net $48 billion in just the second quarter of the year. So Greg Abbott and his Republican Party, in Texas, the Republican regime there, I think they're fascists. They're always, like I told you, touting how they want energy independence. I don't think that people understand that Texas could have that, except for the people of Texas now live on soil that is full of oil that is owned by the Saudi Arabian government. They own the biggest refinery, and they did buy it in 2017. So this was a Trump approved. People were praising it then. I mean, I found lots of adorning articles, and I just want to say that I think that, $48 billion in one quarter in a state like Texas, who's having energy issues. They're having their infrastructure needs to be replaced. People are freezing to death in the wintertime. Also, those same people, not just in Texas, all over this country, are going to be mad as all of these prices are going to go a lot higher. Like I told you guys when all this started, they might come down a little bit, but prices will never be low like they were a year or two ago, ever again. And it has nothing to do with whoever is in the Oval Office. If it's Trump, Biden, this is capitalism 101. The private industry that owns whatever that resource is gets to set the price. So Saudi Arabia, who are 99% responsible for 9/11 on our soil, now is responsible for higher. I'm sorry.
Only 99%.
Oh yeah, only 99. Well, there 15 out of the 18 were Saudi Arabian, so my math is off. It's not actually 99, but yes, they actually funded it. I'd say my opinion is they are 100%. The far right party in Saudi Arabia is 100% responsible for the terrorist attack on 9/11. And now they are not that particular group. However, this Saudi Arabian company can set the price, and they're going to set it as high as they want.
Well, they're decreasing production by, was it like 200 million barrels a day?
Well, yeah, we're gonna get to that. They're doing that. People will be paying more and more, and it's going to be helping out, the riches, as it always has.
How much is gas where you are right now?
How much is the what?
Gasoline where you are?
Oh, I would have to ask Stacey.
It's $4 here.
Yeah, it's probably right under that. When MBS, he's the salty prince. He's pissed off of Saudi Arabia. He's mad.
Yeah.
Biden, said it's not okay to chop up journalists, and we're not going to forget about it. And
it's just
the salty prince of Saudi Arabia took over our largest refinery in the nation, in Texas. They also, let me tell you, hold on. Let me see. I want to go to the best part. Okay, so digging into all of this, because it was 2017, there's a lot has happened since then, so there's a lot of information. But you do have to ask yourself the reason why was Jared Kushner given $2 billion by the Saudi, all after he left the White House. I don't know. It's just, there's a lot, like Greg Abbott, Cruz, all of them are in on all of this together, and the list goes on and on. They drape themselves in the American flag, and they call themselves patriots, while at the same time leaving you to pick up the check for their under the table deals that they're doing with Saudi Arabia. Most blue collar workers in this country do not take the time to understand why the gas prices are getting higher, and they're blaming the president. Now, we can't fix a problem if we can't identify where that problem is coming from. And this is not a bug, it's a feature. Because if we could all come together and say it's not the left or the right or anybody here, it's these private corporations, we could have a common enemy that would be factual, and we could actually do something about it. And that's terrifying to these to a king. We're talking about a monarchy right now. And there's many in they call themselves ultra mega, who call themselves monarchists. They want a king. It's just terrifying. They do pretend to care, just like Abbott's running around Texas right now pretending they care. And DeSantis is running around Florida pretending he cares because of the hurricane, while they grease their pockets. I do want to, let's see, okay. Saudi Arabia. Yeah, they did. OPEC plus. The plus just means Russia. So what we have is a president of the United States going to Saudi Arabia and pretty much begging for them to do what they had promised they would do. The reason why our government gave them extra money during the pandemic, so that they wouldn't slow down production, because when it was over, we wouldn't have problems. We just wanted that to happen. And then that same president of our country, Biden, had to go to Venezuela and say, hey, listen, I know I'm good. Please, please, please. We cannot have, if there is a demand for something that there isn't enough of, people raise the prices. That's, everybody understands that. That's why Biden said, okay, I will take one for the team. I don't care how it looks. I'm doing this for the American people, because he knew, even though we paid out money to these oil rich places so that they wouldn't do these things, they still did them, and he had to go beg. And OPEC, Saudi Arabia, we gave them money. They wanted more. They wanted a deal with weapons in order to make this work. So Trump gave it to him, and then Biden made sure that they got more of it. And then what happens? MBS and Saudi Arabia go to Putin, and now Putin and MBS, they are in charge of what gas is going to cost, how much gets refined, how, they're going to control the demand of it. They're going to control the cost of it. And I mean, the president, to retaliate to OPEC, he slashes oil production, which of course they just did by cutting off Saudi Arabia access to aviation parts through Raytheon. So he has done that. And Boeing. Let me just read you a little bit more of what it says here. It says, it's outrageous. The Saudis need to be dealt with, and they need to be dealt with harshly. They are a third-rate power. We, the United States of America, I hate that this is what it says, because it's like, no, my chest. We are the most powerful country in the world, and I do not know why we count out of them. They don't know how to grammar. What he's trying to say is, I don't know why we would trust in them. Our president called out to them, and they said, oh, we're going to go over here to Putin and we're going to side with him. So the president needs to make it clear, to the Saudis, that the U.S. will cut off the kingdom's aviation part supply. And I mean, like, all of it, not just a sanction here and a sanction there. We will cut off all of it. If we can prevent Raytheon and Boeing from selling to them, which again, it's not that easy. These are private companies, private corporations, who you're going to have to tell them, you can't make this money. Do you see why? And then, but people who aren't educated or informed, they're just mad at their government for fucking shit up.
So we learn something every week on this. So I'm gonna ask to clarify. If you know something, okay. And if you don't know, maybe we should look it up real quick.
That kills me.
If Joe Biden would employ the Defense Production Act, like asking us to, pump more oil.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Would that keep us from exporting it? Or is that something we need to look up?
I mean, that's so nuanced. It's not a black or white. I can't say yes or no. Because
I'm just trying to think of like an easy way for him to say, oh, it's not that you can't sell to them. It's just that you can't do it right now because we're in a national emergency. Like the economy is in a really bad place. This is an emergency.
MBS doesn't give a fuck. He told people to chop up a journalist because the journalist was telling factual things about the kingdom. And then when he was reprimanded by our newly elected president, he went to our biggest enemy and aligned with him weeks before a national election. Weeks before. This is actually other countries messing with the elections here. This is not just a headline. It's so nuanced. It's prevent Raytheon and Boeing from selling to them. They are not our allies, guys. Saudi Arabia is not our ally. They are hurting Americans. They have hurt Americans. They have funded terrorist attacks, plural. And the president needs to make it clear. Go ahead, Mac.
I think. Hi, Miss Christy.
Yeah.
I did want to make the point because you are making a great point. I just want to piggyback on it. And as much as we disagree with this line of thinking, I think it's worth pointing out that, as Vladimir Putin would, we do this all the time, right? We mess with other countries' markets, which, as we say, hurt the citizens more than the government, right? So Saudi Arabia is just like, well, we don't like this Biden guy. He's not kissing our in between our toes. He's just kissing our feet. And we want Republicans back in power. So we're gonna hurt the American economy by just pumping less oil because I mean the US is gonna go into a recession anyways. So let's just prepare for that and pump less. And I mean, yeah, this kind of skyrockets. It's like, it's fine. It's fine. We're just gonna screw them over because they kind of screwed us over because they're not giving us everything that we want. We do that all the time, right? That's the point that I just want to convey to everyone. Is like, this is what it feels like to other countries,
right?
Or another country that has power over them in one way or many,
right?
Citizens, financially, and when you're hurt financially in a world run by
it's wrong,
like monetary,
it's immoral and it's wrong, no matter who the power is. Yes. That's doing the wrong and immoral. Yes. I do think that we as a nation need to rethink our entire relationship with the kingdom, where they do beheadings, where how are we allies with them? I just, my mind can't wrap around that.
Right. I mean, you're 100% right. Like, we shouldn't be allies with Saudi Arabia, but I also really want to just emphasize this lens of looking at the situation, just like this is what we do to other countries.
Well, I mean, I love this. This guy says, what's the point? What's the point of looking the other way as they chop up journalists and behead people with political speech that isn't approved of? What's the point? It's a mistake on our part, not on theirs. They chop up journalists, repress political speech. When the ships are down, the Saudi Arabians effectively choose the Russians. Like, the instant we need an ally, they go to Putin instead of the United States. They're helping the atrocities in Yemen. We talk about, and I still follow both Yemen and Ukraine. The atrocities in Yemen are done by American weapons sold to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. There's no hyperbole. That is the end of that sentence, and it is factual. I think it should end. I've been waiting a long time for Congress people to start seeing, or for there to be something. United States has promised Saudi Arabia over $100 billion of weapons over the next 5 years. Saudi Arabia purchases 25% of all arms produced in the United States. 25% of all killing machines and weapons are purchased by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Yeah. So they're 100% reliant on the United States for their military advisors, economically at the management level. And from what I can see, they can't run their own countries very well. Like, there are a lot of, it's hard to get footage out of Saudi, sorry, oh, it hurts my eyes. There's hard to get footage out of Saudi Arabia, but there is. And the people who are destitute is just awful. If you're a woman who, no fault of your own, was raped and have a kid, nobody wants you. You're homeless forever, sitting on the side of the road, begging for food, getting kicked, getting raped. It's a horrible, horrible place. It's a kingdom. Think of the fun shows we like to watch on Netflix, where it's in the 1600s and the 1500s, except for they have the technology we have and the money to make it better. And they are just awful. You know, they can't run their own country. They're too corrupt. The MBS got a little bit of power, and what did he do? He locked up everyone in his family who had a different opinion, just a different opinion about stuff. And they no longer have any part in the government, or they just unalived themselves somehow. This country can't do things without us, and that does give us a tremendous amount of leverage if we fucking want to use it. If we want to use it. The thing is that America's political world is too addicted to the money and too addicted to the oil as a nation, as a military. Unfortunately, that leverage, you know, I don't know. The chips are down there on to Russia. That's another thing I wanted to say. You know, Russia helps their own pocketbooks, but the Saudis in the UAE, just so people know, have been making a killing off Russia. And here's why. They buy Russian oil, then burn it for domestic capacity, and then they sell all the oil they can pump out of their own ground to us. So we pay at a high price, and the arbitrage, let's see, I need to put my glasses back on, sorry. And we pay a high price, and on the arbitrage, they're making an absolute killing. Apparently, in the Sharjah and some of the other ports of the UAE, they are taking the Russian oil, mixing it up, putting fake labels on it, and then they just sell it to the entire world market. So they after they put, I mean, everybody's making a cut on what the Russians, it's just this, like I said, it's not black or white. And because of all this war going on, the Russians aren't just selling the oil, they're selling grain and seeds and other things that Ukraine should normally be a part of. It is a shitstorm. The Russians actually are also mixing oil and putting fake labels on it and helping sell it to the entire world. People are getting ripped off, and the people that are getting ripped off are the people in this country. California is paying $6.14 a gallon, by the way. Well, The average consumer in the West is getting ripped off when all of these guys are making absolute killings. And you, let's see, and then like I said, and then Ukraine, don't even get me mixed up with. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I actually don't want to. You guys can look up that if you would like. I actually.
California, I can add though. Gavin Newsom
It's killing my eyes.
just said that he was gonna start cutting checks to Californians for, I think it was $1,050 to help with just the economy over there. And a lot of that has to do with those high gas prices. So he's trying to be like, hey, the government can help you. Also, remember my name because I want to be president someday. But
Yeah, oh yeah, he's
hey, if you're
definitely.
gonna do good things to want to be president,
Well, I mean,
that's fine by
California
me. Keep going.
manufactures its own insulin. It will never have to worry about wars stopping, shipments of it coming in. They have complete control over from the top to the bottom. I think that the citizens of California should own the means of production, but that's just me, saying it doesn't go far enough.
Crazy fucking comment.
I know. Okay, so listen to this.
Yeah.
Now that I told you the Saudis own 100% of Texas's oil, the refined oil, the biggest oil refinery. They own it.
Okay.
Okay. Trump told Saudi, cut oil supply or lose your U.S. military support. Washington, London, and Dubai. This is Reuters. As the United States pressed Saudi Arabia to end its oil price war with Russia, President at the time, Donald Trump, gave Saudi leaders an ultimatum. In an April 2 phone call, Trump told Saudi Crown Prince MBS that unless the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, started cutting oil production, he would be powerless to stop lawmakers from passing legislation to withdraw U.S. troops from the kingdom. Four sources familiar with the matter told Reuters. The threat to upend a 75-year strategic alliance, which has not been previously reported, was central to the United States' pressure campaign that led to a landmark global deal to slash oil supply as demand collapsed in the coronavirus pandemic, scoring a diplomatic victory for the White House. Now, MBS didn't forget. Trump delivered the message to the Crown Prince 10 days before the announcement of production cuts. The kingdom's de facto leader was so taken aback by the threat that he ordered his aides out of the room so he could continue the discussion in private, according to the United States source who was briefed on the discussion by senior administration officials on site. The effort illustrated Trump's strong desire to protect the United States oil industry, which we know are private corporations, not the United States, from historic price meltdowns as governments shut down economics worldwide to fight the virus. It also reflected a telling reversal of Trump's longstanding criticism of the oil cartel, which he has blasted for raising energy costs for Americans with supply cuts that usually led to higher gasoline prices. Now, Trump was asking OPEC to slash output. A senior U.S. official told Reuters that the administration notified Saudi leaders that without production cuts, there would be no way to stop the United States Congress from imposing restrictions that could lead to a withdrawal of the U.S. forces. The official summed up the argument made through various diplomatic channels, and much time as telling Saudi leaders, quote, "We are defending your industry while you're destroying ours," end quote. MBS didn't forget that either. Reuters asked Trump about the talks in an interview that week at the White House, at which the president addressed a range of topics involving the pandemic. Asked if he told the crown prince that the US might pull forces out of Saudi Arabia, Trump said, quote, "I didn't have to tell him," end quote. "I thought he and President Putin, Vladimir Putin, were very reasonable," Trump said. "They knew they had a problem, and then this happened." Asked what he told the crown prince, MBS, Trump said, quote, "They were having a hard time making a deal." They were, not him, he's the deal maker. "They were having a hard time making a deal. And I met on the telephone with him where we were able to reach a deal for production cuts," Trump said. Yeah. Let me fix my camera. There we go. Saudi Arabia's government media office did not respond to a request for comment. A Saudi official who asked not to be named and stressed that the agreement represented the will of all countries in the so-called OPEC plus group of oil producing nations, which includes OPEC plus, a coalition led by Russia. Quote, "Saudi Arabia, the United States, and Russia have played an important role in the OPEC plus oil cut agreement, but without the cooperation of the 23 countries who took part in the agreement, it would not have happened," said the Saudi official, who declined to comment on the discussion between the United States and the Saudi leaders. The week before Trump's phone call with the Crown Prince, the United States Republican senators, Kevin Cramer and Don Sullivan, had introduced legislation to remove all United States troops, Patriot missiles, and anti-missile defense systems from the kingdom unless Saudi Arabia cut oil output. Support for the measure was gaining momentum amid congressional anger over the ill-timed Saudi-Russia oil price war. The kingdom had opened up the traps in April, unleashing a flood of crude into the global supply after Russia refused to deepen production cuts in line with the earlier OPEC supply pack. On April 12th, under pressure, the world's biggest oil-producing nations outside the United States agreed to the largest production cut ever negotiated. OPEC, Russia, and other allied producers slashed production by 9.7 million barrels per day, or about 10% of global output. Half of that volume came from cuts of 2.5 million barrels per day, each by Saudi Arabia and Russia, whose budgets depend on high oil and gas revenues. Despite the agreement to cut a tenth of global production, oil prices continued to fall to historic lows. U.S. oil futures dropped below zero into the negative that week as sellers paid buyers to avoid taking delivery of oil they had no place to store. Remember that? Brent futures, the global oil benchmark, fell towards $15 per barrel, a level not seen since 1999 oil price crash, from as high as $70 at the start of the year. The deal for supply cuts could eventually boost prices, however, as governments worldwide start to open their economies and fuel demand rises with the increased travel after the pandemic. Whatever the impact, the negotiations mark an extraordinary display of United States influence over global oil output, or so we fucking thought. We fuck around and found out is what happened. Cramer, the Republican senator from North Dakota, told Reuters he spoke to Trump about the legislation to withdraw the United States military protection from Saudi Arabia on March 30th, 3 days before the president even called MBS to tell him that. I'm sure all of this got back to MBS as well. I mean, come on. Ask whether Trump told Saudi Arabia it could lose its U.S. military support. United States Energy Secretary Dan told Reuters the president reserved the right to use every tool to protect the United States producers, including our support for their defense needs. The strategic partnership dates back to 1945, when then Franklin D. Roosevelt met with Saudi King Abdul Aziz Abnid Saud on the USS Quincy, a Navy cruiser. They reached a deal: the United States military protection in exchange for access to Saudi oil reserves. Today, the United States has about 3,000 troops in Saudi Arabia, and the United States Navy's Fifth Fleet protects Saudi Arabian oil exports from the region. Saudi Arabia relies on the United States military for weapons, or United States for weapons, and our military for protection against regional rivals such as Iran and pirates. The kingdom's vulnerabilities, however, were exposed late. Let's see, this was in 2017. So in 2016, they were exposed in 2016 by an attack by 18 drones and 3 missiles on key Saudi oil facilities. Washington blamed Iran. Iran denied it. So we still don't know who did that. 13 angry senators. Trump initially welcomed lower oil prices. Remember, he was like running around saying, look what I did, only I could do it, touting the lower prices, saying cheap gasoline prices were akin to a tax cut for drivers and that he made all this happen. That changed after Saudi Arabia announced in mid-March it would pump a record 12.3 million barrels per day, unleashing the price war with Russia. The explosion of supply came as governments worldwide issued stay-home orders, closing everything, crushing fuel demand, and made clear that United States oil companies would be hit the hardest in the crude price collapse. Senators from the United States oil states were infuriated. On March 16th, Kramer was among 13 Republican senators who sent a letter to MBS reminding him of Saudi Arabia's strategic reliance on Washington, our weapons, and our military. The group also urged Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross to investigate whether Saudi Arabia and Russia were breaking international trade laws by flooding the U.S. market with oil, which has been proven now since this. Yes, they are. It is a cartel. OPEC is a cartel. These are hoodlums. On March 18th, the senators, a group that included Sullivan of Alaska and Ted Cruz of Texas, held a rare call with Princess Rima bint Binar bin Sultan, the Saudi ambassador to the United States. Kramer called the conversation brutal as each senator detailed the damage to their own state's oil industries. Quote, she heard it from every single senator. There was nobody that held back, end quote. The Saudi embassy did not respond to requests for comment. Kramer said the princess relayed their comments to the officials in Saudi Arabia, including the energy minister. The senators told the princess that the kingdom faced rising opposition in the Senate to the Saudi-led coalition that is waging war in Yemen against the Houthi rebels. No, they're genociding the fuck out of that place. Saudi and U.S. officials have said the Houthis are armed by Iran, which Tehran denies. The backing of Senate Republicans over Yemen had proved crucial for Saudi Arabia the year before. The Senate upheld Trump vetoes for several measures seeking to end United States weapons sales and other military support to the Saudi Arabia amid outrage over the Yemen conflict, the genocide, which has caused, at the time when this was written 2 years ago, more than 100,000 deaths and triggered a humanitarian crisis. Bending the knee. Trump's oil diplomacy came in a whirlwind of calls with Saudi King Salman, Crown Prince Mohammed, and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Started in mid-March. The Kremlin confirmed Putin's conversation with Trump and said they discussed both oil supply cuts and the coronavirus pandemic. On April 2nd, a call with Prince MBS, Trump told the Saudi ruler he was going to cut them off the next time Congress pushed a proposal to end Washington's defense of the kingdom, according to the source with knowledge of the call. Trump also publicly threatened in early April to impose tariffs on oil imports from Saudi Arabia and Russia. After the conversation with the Saudi crown prince and another the same exact day with Putin, Trump tweeted that he expected Saudi Arabia and Russia to cut output by about 10 million barrels per day, which, quote, will be great for the oil and gas industry, end quote. Riyadh and Moscow later confirmed they had restarted negotiations. That was not happening. This goes on and on and on, but I do want to add this part. I think it's very, very important. During the public portion of the meeting, Kramer told Trump that Washington can use the billions of dollars it spends defending Saudi Arabia on other military priorities, quote, if our friends are going to treat us this way, end quote. The prospect of losing United States military protection made the royal family bend at the knees and bow to Trump's demands, and a Middle Eastern diplomat told Reuters. After prolonged and fractious negotiations, top producers pledged their record output cut of 9.7 million barrels per day in May and June, with the understanding that economic forces would lead to about 10 million barrels per day and further cuts in production from other countries, including the United States and Canada. Trump hailed the deal and cast himself as its broker, quote, having been involved in negotiations, to put it mildly. The number that OPEC Plus is looking to cut is 20 million barrels a day, end quote, he tweeted shortly after the deal. Riyadh also took credit. Saudi Energy Minister Prince, whatever his name, told Reuters at the time that the Crown Prince had been instrumental in formulating his deal. Yeah, he's a douchebag. I don't care if I get his name right. Reporting by there's so much. Timothy Gardner and Steve Holland in Washington did this reporting. And I'm telling you, if you look up United States national parks and how much of each national park Saudi Arabia owns, you will be blown away. Owns.
I don't want to be blown away by that.
China has ownership. UAE has ownership. Australia has ownership in a few of the parks. It's like, 2%, 3%. And it's not nefarious, the Australian or the new, they actually invest in these national parks. They like to go on their holidays to these national parks. However, Saudi Arabia is a kingdom. It is a dictatorship, authoritarianism, fascism at its finest. It's bizarro that in 2022 there resides a land where there's a fucking king. My story is done for the night.
There's another place nearby who has a king too, but today's not today. So let's stay down there in the Middle East. I would like to say before we get into this topic, isn't it ironic that religion is one of the best ways, if not the best way, to control people, and Saudi Arabia and Iran are pretty theocratic. Isn't it ironic? Yes. So,
Isn't
moving
it ironic? Don't you think? It's like rain on your wedding day. Listen,
I actually always think
Alanis, that whole
Morrissey.
album is based for life.
It's good.
For life.
It's a really good album.
Yeah.
Every time I say ironic, I think of Bo Burnham's song. Hashtag I love Bo Burnham. Isn't it IRONICINORIRONIC?
Okay, you're just silly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really silly song, but it's great.
Sillier the better.
So we're gonna start this much more depressing topic than that song. So I'm reading. Oh no, you know what? I'm gonna back up. I don't want to read from that one yet. Hold on, I didn't say anything yet. That doesn't count. Okay. This is actually from Wikipedia. I feel like this is the best place to actually start it. With just the death of Masa. I don't want to mess up her name. Masa Amani. On September 16th, 2022, a 22-year-old woman, a Turkish woman from Iran, named Masa Amani, or we've got different names for it, died in a hospital in Tehran, Iran's capital, under suspicious circumstances. The guidance patrol, the religious morality police, and here, as I'm hovering over, the Islamic religious police are official Islamic vice squad police agencies which enforce religious observance and public morality on behalf of national or regional authorities based on its interpretation of Sharia. So that's fun. They're literal morality of Iran's government. They arrested Amani for not wearing a hijab properly with the government standards, too loosely, showing some hair. Police, after transferring her to the hospital, said that she had a heart attack at the police station, collapsed, and fell into a coma. Eyewitnesses, including women who were detained with Amani, said she was severely beaten and that she died as a result of police brutality. These assertions, in addition to leaked medical statements, led independent observers to believe Amani had a cerebral hemorrhage or stroke. Amani's death resulted in a series of large-scale protests across the country, which garnered international attention, including a statement from the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, putting the focus on violence against women in Iran. I'll continue reading. It also seems pretty good. Several leaders, organizations, and celebrities around the world condemned the incident and expressed solidarity with the protesters because there are many protesters. Excuse me. The United States Department of Treasury and Canada imposed sanctions on the morality police and Iranian leaders in various security organizations. The government of Iran attempted to suppress the protests, shooting protesters with birdshot and metal pellets, deploying tear gas and water cannons. Don't know what water cannons are? They can shoot that skin right off your fucking head. Blocking access to many apps, including Instagram and WhatsApp, and limiting internet accessibility to reduce protesters' ability to organize. These may be the most severe internet restrictions in Iran since 2019, when the internet was completely shut down. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the International Socialist.net. This was just on October 2nd, last Sunday. The killing of young Kurdish women in Iran has triggered a massive wave of upheaval, protests, and strikes. Excuse me. Threatening the whole regime. The global instability for the ruling classes growing. The whole region might once again become an epicenter of revolution and counter-revolution. This next paragraph is really, I think, really important and really interesting. So if you ignored me, now's the right time to stop. Just for the next paragraph, I'll let you know when you do. Just like a Christy says.
I can hear you, and then it cuts off. And then I can hear you, and then it's like if the mic was right here and you're talking to it, and then you talk over here, and then you talk to it. So
is this a little bit better?
Say it one more time.
Like right.
Say it, mic check. 1 2 1 2.
Mic check. 1 2 3 4.
I can hear you. Yep, it works.
All right, thank you. All or nothing expresses the mood of the masses in Iran, Kurdistan, and beyond. They have not left the streets despite brutal repression, killings, and arrests. Now, I want to remind you, this is kind of cool, not cool. Again, this is written on October 2nd, and Amani was killed on September 16th. So it's been over 2 weeks. People have just constantly been in the streets. Despite brutal, beatings, arrests from underground. And just
real quick, not interrupt you. Bye, RB. I get it. I understand. Sometimes I totally have to just turn off and watch Big Mouth, the animated series on Netflix. Love it. I get it, RB.
Through changes.
Big dick boy.
Big dick's playing basketball. Big balls on the court.
I fucking love that show. So I get it, RB. I understand making your heart, your blood pressure rise. That's all. Continue, Mac. My blood pressure can continue to rise.
Yes. So, back to the fun.
Yeah.
Most recently, women in Afghanistan gathered to show their solidarity in a rally which was dissolved by the Taliban, who, like other Islamic forces in the region, feared the protest wave is spreading. The deadly attacks by the Iraqi regime against Kurdish groups there show their fear that the movement could spread throughout the whole Kurdish region. The protests have already shown the potential to overcome ethnic, national, and gender divisions, which is a key element to hit the heart of the Islamic regime. The regime must be overthrown by working class, moving towards a socialist alternative to guarantee women's liberation, bodily economy, freedom, and equality. That's where you can stop listening, but don't do it. But no, I think that's a great point, and I think it's really, 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 really important that last part kind of be repeated, actually, because it sounds like I kind of read it by accident. It's not been the main point here, but it is actually one of the main points: is the regime must be overthrown by the working class. Right? That part alone, because we don't need America swooping in and helping them overthrow a government.
Oh no, we need to stay the hell out of it. A cool fact about Iran, their nation's average age, like our Congress's average age is, mid-70s. It's like 68 to 72. That's our Congress average age. Iran's nation's average age is like 32 years old. Now that they have so many younger Gen Z, Gen X, and younger, and these young, wonderful humans have grown up with this technology in their hands, like us. They've had friends from around the world like us who have different beliefs and different traditions, and it's all beautiful. And then if like someone like me wants to try a hairstyle I see in Sweden where they wear the two braids up here, I can do that. These girls can't do these things unless they're at home and nobody's there. Like at some point they're going to, and they have, and that's what we're seeing them going, no. The history, I'm a history nerd. I love history. It's so hard to understand how all of this is so awesome. And I don't mean awesome as in like awesome and cool, just in awe. I'm in awe of what's going on. Is the history of how we overthrew the Shah, and they had to hide when they did their meetings because they would get killed. And where did they do those secret meetings? In the mosques, where we didn't go. So how do you think we got here? We need to stay out of it and let this younger generation decide who they want to be. And they are adamant about overthrowing this religious dictatorship thing going on. They are over it.
Yeah, and they ought to be.
Yes, they ought to be. So
a little more information on this. This is from The Guardian, and it's down from the article I'm on. This news comes after Iran's hardline president, I don't know how to say his name, Eon, ordered a crackdown on women's rights and called for stricter enforcement of the country's mandatory dress code, which has required all women to wear the hijab head covering since 1979.
Right.
So that actually, I want to add on, because that will actually made me again reminded that back in the 70s, when
you're going in and out again.
Back in the 70s,
it's when you move. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. When we helped overthrow the Shah or assault the Shah. Getting my
we installed the Shah. Yes.
Installed the Shah. Yeah. About a month.
Hold on. They had a free and fair and actual democratic election and chose who they wanted to lead them, and then we decided no. So yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to overthrow democracy to save democracy. So
it just proves that, when you hear, when you hear, when any one of us hears that we're the police of the world, that, when we do it, it's because we're we show up, we're helping them, they don't give a fudge about democracy. And you can tell by those same people here in our nation right now trying to demolish democracy every chance they get. So
I love fudge, but I would trade some fudge for some democracy.
I will make
That's-
you some democracy fudge for Christmas. How about that?
It needs to be tradable fudge.
And
Or
then you'll be
democracy.
like, this is what democracy tastes like.
All right, hold on. I'm losing where I
Yeah,
was.
I fucked you up. Sorry.
It's okay. So when they got the Shah, it was a month, maybe like just a couple months, tops, where the Shah basically put in the law that women had to wear hijabs, and it was immediate protest. But they were shut the fuck down, and it has just continued every couple of years or so. This is why it's kind of been said over and over when you're looking at these news stories with Amani being the center of them and the cause, is because protests haven't stopped. But this one's different because it's bigger. And there's no age gap. There's children and their parents and the grandparents all coming out to support, not just not wearing hijabs.
Nope. It is illegal and immoral for a female to cut her hair in public.
That was the next thing I was going to say.
Yeah. I
Is-
didn't know. I'm watching all these videos and I'm like, that must be a law. Yeah, it is a law. Yeah. They're like, I'm Britney Spearing the shit out of this. they had no idea. The one Britney Spears going through a crazy breakdown, they just made the entire nation go through a crazy breakdown.
Also cutting your hair biblically.
Yes.
And this is probably like an exception
It's
to it.
blasphemy.
Like if you're mourning, you can cut your hair. You're supposed to tear your clothes. You can cut your hair when you're mourning or mourning, or to show that you're mourning. But I think it's extra. I feel like it's almost like a double entendre, where one, you're breaking the law. Two, you're mourning someone that they do not want you to mourn and make a martyr. So
and they don't know anymore because they're dead.
Right.
Well, there's that.
So, but not so. Now where I was again. So
I'm gonna write. I will not interrupt Mac 500 times. I'll be right back.
ADHD can't handle it. So it's not just that they're all joining together because they're against hijabis or not being able to cut their hair or show their faces. It's the whole regime, the whole country, without looking at just nationality or gender, even, because there's been a lot of reports, not just recently, but through the last couple of years, of just women standing on towers or on their vehicles and taking their jobs off, burning them, and mention, which is great, because a lot of people just don't agree with this Islamic regime. So the point is here that it's a whole nation, right? There's so many people in Iran and Afghanistan because
it's spreading and dancing. Like for me, I could be out and let's say a store had their door open and the music that's playing in there, I happen to be like, oh, that's my shit, and I'm feeling it, and I don't even realize what a privilege that is just to be a human in that moment, because that is illegal for them. So they're making videos of not just taking off the hijab and burning it, but dancing in their traditional dance and hip hop and ballet and making up choreography. I love all of it. Peaceful protest. What did Mr. Lewis say? Some good trouble. It's time to get into some good trouble. Yeah.
And
I really hope that Iran doesn't. They have two options. One of them would make sure that that would never happen ever again, or at least for a generation or two. And the other would be amazing for all those millions of Iranian humans who just want the same things we want. You know, oh shit, that's my jam. I know all the words. Or I want to wear my hair like this today. Or my friend in Japan wore her hair like this and showed me how to do it. And I want to do it here in whatever country I'm in. That's the world they reside in. And the rulers of Iran live in an analog world still, a world where girls don't need education. The only education you need to know is to memorize the Quran. Yeah. I wish a lot that I could hit fast forward and see where this is going to go. And I really, really am excited because I have hope that it could go in a lot of good directions. It has, like you said, all of the age groups. There are husbands, nephews, uncles, grandfathers, all the men are supporting the women. It's hard for the government to crack down when, you know, a 5-year-old little girl and an 11-year-old little girl and their 80-year-old grandmother are all taking their hijabs. Who do you arrest? What do? You beat them up on TV? So, yeah, it's huge. But the Arab Spring was massive, and a lot of people thought that was going to be what did it. And a lot of places did the monstrous thing and made it so that people were terrified to even make eye contact again. So,
and
like Egypt.
so I'm gonna make a closing point because I mean,
I'm gonna let you.
I love you.
I will allow it. Oh my gosh, the Tony Michaels podcast is here. I'm like a massive fan, dude. I'm there every single day. Sometimes my wife is cracking up because the amount of perverted cuss words that are so appropriate when you're describing these asshats that govern our country. You couldn't say it. I couldn't say it any better than you, dude. And it's rad that you showed up, by the way.
Super cool. Thank you.
Super cool. Yes. And if you guys here now or in the future listening, watching this, go on to the little side chat and click on sub. Watch his live stream. He pulls no punches, that's for sure. And he's funny as hell. He has amazing guests on. And he's just, if you're a politics or a policy junkie like me, and you also have a sailor mouth, and I like to smoke and listen to my Tony Michaels show during the day. It's one of the things that I do. I'll see you guys in the chat. So thanks for stopping by. And back to you, Mac. Interrupting our show like that. Get out of here.
I actually hadn't heard of him yet. So I actually just
you will if you go through that list that you haven't watched yet. You'll see like 3 of them from Tony Michael.
Okay.
They're not the whole podcast. I wouldn't do that to you. They're clips. I'm there for the whole podcast.
But I have one pulled up. I have a 244 pulled up. So I did that so I can just click on it in the morning when I'm going to work.
Please do. Yes, you'll
will.
enjoy, laugh. You'll laugh. It'll piss you off because he's telling, the topics we cover. A lot of people don't want to spend their Friday nights listening to the topics we cover. However, they still have to fucking be covered because democracy is not a spectator's sport. And so Friday nights when we can do it, and everybody plays their part. And I am definitely a member of the pro-democracy team, and so is Tony Michaels. So everyone go sub pro-democracy, anti-fascist, day, son. Day.
So
that like totally made
wrapping up the Masa Amani thing and just the whole, right? Because these kind of blend together because these where this is all happening is next door to each other. It's just a jump across the lake, which isn't a lake, it's just part of the golf. But whatever. I wanted to end it with the idea that maybe we need to look back at what we did it's more than 50 years ago. Sorry, I'm still living in the 90s.
Speak up again.
70 years ago, we put In God We Trust.
Yeah, 1954, during the Red Scare. Ask me a history question, goddammit. Ask me one.
I'm sorry, Christy, you're actually wrong. That was under
1950.
God, Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm sorry?
56. I said that was under God for the Pledge of Allegiance, but 56.
Oh, 56, yes. 56, 52, sorry. And 54 were all adding God and Jesus stuff. 54, yes. 50, and 56, 52 were all adding Jesus crap because we wanted to show the world that we weren't the filthy, godless commies.
Exactly. Yeah. It was
right.
So I wanted to maybe just throw this idea out there as maybe more of an argument to throw out there, just because I'm always trying to be like, hey guys, if you are listening to this, maybe try this amongst your friends and family, or on your platform. So we did this back in 56 and 54 to show that we are not like the assholes across the ocean. And I think now's a really good time to talk about that we are not like the assholes in Iran, in Saudi Arabia, in Afghanistan, where we want theocracies. And maybe it's time to take God and God we trust out now, because we want to set ourselves apart. We are trying to strive for a secular nation. And as
the original motto is more inclusive and more beautiful anyway. For the many, one.
Yeah, and so added a point for me. Religion is best when it's not taken seriously. Right?
It's your own personal alone time, like masturbation.
No, not just private. Not just
God! Oh my God! Oh my God! That's what I talk to him.
Oh my God! No, but it's like I get the most out of it because I am now spending a lot more time on Canaanite, ancient religion, like just checking that out, doing deep dives.
Like in it, after Hammurabi or before Hammurabi?
It would be after Hammurabi, I think. During like the time of Baal, and also like during
that's before. That's before Hammurabi and Gilgamesh. Yeah, that's before.
Baal's before?
I'm pretty sure it's before. I mean, don't quote me. I would have to look that up.
I'm not sure. It doesn't. I mean, pretty much all of it, but I don't know the time, and that's something I'm trying to learn. But like
it is hard. I know Hammurabi is about 2.5 thousand to 3,000 years older than the Yahweh stories. So the Torah, the Old Testament. So it's like every 2.5 to 3,000 years, a new Lord happens.
Yeah. Like once ushered in or just like replaced with. But I mean, so that's fun. But my main point for it is
Yeah. I know. I need to stop. I'm fucking you up. I'm gonna mute myself.
I'm all over the place. I can't remember. No, so the oops, I closed this thing. That's fine. Just the pure fact that we've done this in the past, and that's not how I like to do things. Right? That's not how I think it's just like, well, use religion to like split each other or whatever. But I mean, as atheist humanists, one of the things that we really push for here on this channel and in the wider atheist community, like Shannon Q, even, is that we push for religious freedom. Like,
Yes.
we're not trying to push that red button to like explode all believers or beliefs.
I will show up at that march for you to have the freedom to pray to your Lord. I will, as long as you also respect my freedom to not do any of that.
Don't push it in our schools. Don't try to push it in our private life. You can't have religious freedom without having freedom from religion.
Yes, our framers, our founders understood that. They were fleeing that. That's why they built a wall between church and state.
Yeah. And we need to be that
subscribe to FFRF.
Of what?
Subscribe to FFRF. Everyone, if you are not a member, you can also go to FFRF, Google FFRF, and fill out the little mailing information, and you will get information in the mail about different court cases that are going on. They FFRF, Freedom from Religion Foundation, are a nonprofit, and their sole purpose in life is to protect the Constitution and religious freedoms, freedom from and of. That is their sole purpose. And it's very important that you pay attention to that. Like I said, democracy is not a spectator sport. Seidel is one of the lawyers there. I absolutely adore him. He does so much for this country. He has no idea how many times his name is going to be in the history books if it's written factually about how much work he's done to protect all of the citizens who don't even know who he is. Fuck fascism, and solidarity with Iran, with the people, with the workers. Workers of the world unite. Didn't Marx had it right. Why change it? Workers of the world unite. I think that's what they're terrified of.
Yeah.
And they should be.
Yes.
Yeah. They should.
And as US citizens, we just need to be a good example of not promoting theocracies and actually promoting the opposite. So people can not die for not wearing their fucking religious headdresses correctly.
Right.
Because it's just utter bullshit. And
it is utter bullshit.
And it's disgusting. They're like, this is what makes religion so harmful, is when you're not allowed to learn that Moses didn't
exist,
help found America, and when you're not allowed to walk around with your face uncovered or dance, right? Whether it's Kevin Bacon
or play music,
Iran,
or play music. There is a story of a 19-year-old boy walking down to the beach in Saudi Arabia around 9 p.m. He was bringing his guitar to go sit in the sand and play, but it's not allowed. So the morality police followed him, destroyed his guitar, and locked him up for 30 days. And then he had to have lashes in front of everyone for playing music. So there's real problems in this world. We don't just talk about, you guys know, the United States here. We live on a planet with a lot of others, and there's real shit going on. And meanwhile, we have MTG. We have a woman who actually is part of the government and says that her job is to fight the government. That's why she ran. Like, we have to worry about, I want to shake America so bad sometimes and say, do you see what really is happening here and here and here and here and here? I don't care about how we got there. People, you know, a lot of people don't want to get into the how our part, the part we played to help. Fine, whatever. Let's just where they are right now. Let's get two people where they are right now and show them what's going on. And then go back to Marjorie Taylor Greene saying space laser, what? Like, these aren't important things. And we need, unfortunately, to create media literacy. And I don't know how or who we need to work with to create some sort of media literacy. There needs to be a way to make media literacy a paramount for us, for all citizens, and science literacy. I'm not saying getting a master's in molecular biology. I'm saying basic science literate. These are things that we need to do. We have the privilege in our nation to not have what's going on in Iran. We have the privilege in our nation to not have what's going on in Saudi Arabia. We have the privilege in our nation to not have what's going on in these horrible places where people get disappeared and kidnapped and they're not allowed to dance. What are we going to do with that privilege? That's, I think, why we started the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, because it is a privilege as a human. It's a privilege to have a Friday night where I'm not trying to survive terrified. And there are hundreds of thousands of humans across this planet right now that are just trying to survive to the next minute, let alone tomorrow. Like, that's, so yeah, I guess I love you guys, and fuck fascism, and stay humanist for God's sake.